Ladies and gentlemen, Fourth and Trollers, welcome back to Fourth and Troll Fantasy, the most entertaining fantasy football podcast on the planet. My name is Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And the Miami Dolphins just scored another touchdown on the Denver Broncos. That is right. It is now 287 to 22. They somehow got a safety. Don't really know what happened there, but my goodness, do we have a show for you guys today. Hey, thanks for hanging out one day later. We had some stuff going on, but we wanted to make sure we got another episode in for you guys just so we kept on track with you. We got to talk about and break down week 3 because, my goodness, there are things to talk about. And if you're new to the show, if you're not new to the show, what kind of podcast would we be if we didn't take an opportunity to talk about what happened at Hard Rock Stadium on Sunday? First things first, Wes, how you doing?
Well, it's obvious how I'm doing, and we have a podcast dedicated to the sport that reflects how I'm doing, so we'll get into that in a moment. But I'm great. I celebrated my girlfriend's birthday over the weekend. We went to Disneyland together, had a blast. It was a magical day, and it was just such a... I'm just so happy. Yeah, she's just the best. Yeah, but I'm great. How are you?
Yeah. I'm good, dude. I as well was. I mean, you don't leave the state because you live in California. I was over back on the East Coast this weekend, over back in Tampa, staying with some family, spending some time with family, meeting my new nephew. He's a new member of the family. My brother and sister-in-law had their second child, the boy. And he is the most precious thing on the planet. So we got to spend some time there and, in Florida. So I sweat more, but, all worth it to, and if you know me, sweating more, that is a feat in and of itself.
It's hard to get.
It's hard to sweat more than I usually do. Yeah. So there you go. That is an accomplishment. Way to go, Florida. You can check your box on that one. But it was a great time, and
good.
What a good weekend of football we had, man. We're gonna jump into it. We gotta go over some formalities first. But listen, we got a great show. Obviously, we're gonna do a little bit of breakdown of week 3, hyped up and let down, Fluke for real. Looking forward to Thursday Night Football, which is going to be tomorrow night by the time you're listening to this. So no waivers for you today because we are one day late, but we hope you were able to grab maybe a rookie running back from Miami. My goodness. It's taking everything in me to not break into it right now.
It's the first thing after the news. I
know. Before we jump into the news, real quick, while we're here, comment below. Let us know how you did in week 3. Let us know some big performances in week 3. And I mean even outside of the Miami Dolphins. My goodness, some big time performances for fantasy football. Let us know in the comments. Subscribe, ring that bell, and follow us on all our social media down there. We really love it and appreciate it. We definitely have some good stuff coming for you on the reg, so make sure you're there. Now, let's jump into the news. We've got some things to cover before we break down week 3. Wes, hit it.
Yes, sir. Okay, so as we're all aware, Kareem Hunt signed with the Cleveland Browns. That we did not get to report in time for this, but Kevin Stefanski still reiterated that Jerome Ford is the starter, and we're going to talk about Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt in a little bit in our Fluke for Real segment, so stay tuned for that as well. Jamal Williams was officially put on IR for the New Orleans Saints. He's missing a minimum of 4 weeks. We saw the last week without Alvin Kamara, and he will be back on Sunday from his suspension. Cam Akers was traded to the Minnesota Vikings for like a 7th round pick or 6th round pick, something really cheap.
In 2025, by the way, which is the funniest thing about it, is it's not even next year.
I didn't even see that.
Here's like something sometime in the future. Take this guy off our team. Sean McVay hates that guy. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, clearly. Almost as much as Dan Cable hated DeAndre Swift, and look how that's turned out for them. Ooh. Anyway, so Sunday was too early for Cam Akers to play for the Vikings, but he will be in there next week, and that will be very interesting to see after Madison's pretty good performance. So we'll keep an eye on how that snap count works, yada, yada, yada. Bryce Young missed Sunday's game with a ankle injury, and he's likely going to miss next week's matchup as well. The Carolina Panthers will probably start Andy Dalton again, and we're going to talk about how the Panthers did with Andy Dalton because that changed the offense completely. Okay, speaking of quarterbacks, also in the NFC South, Derek Carr hurt his shoulder on a sack, and he will miss time. For a moment, we thought it was going to be a pretty serious injury. He may still miss time, but Jameis Winston will very likely be the starter next week and maybe going forward for another week or two after that. And a moment of silence for Mike Williams for having a completely incredible game. He finally, he starts to do so well, and then he's out for the year with an ACL tear. Josh Palmer is next on the depth chart, but Quentin Johnson, of course, is the rookie they drafted in the first round. We'll pay attention to see what that looks like specifically, but that is such a big blow. Also on the Chargers, Austin Eckler missed Sunday's game. As we know, he's hopeful to play next week, but keep this in mind. Week 4, they play. I forget who they're playing, but week 5 is the Chargers' bye week. So it is completely possible the Chargers just say you're going to miss week 4 because you're guaranteed to rest week 5. So you'll be back week 6. So pay attention to that. They may just monitor his health just to be absolutely sure coming off their first win on the season. Jimmy Garoppolo is in the concussion protocol. Jonathan Mingo is in the concussion protocol. Pay attention to both of them in case any of you are believing in Mingo after this crazy, great Panthers offensive performance in the fantasy world. And the last piece here, bit of defensive news in case any of you may have forgotten the superstar Cowboys defensive back Trayvon Diggs tore his ACL. He is out for the season. Maybe that was a bigger factor than we realized as the Cowboys also took their first loss. That is it for the news. And now, let's get into our hyped up and let down segment.
All right. I was about to say we apologize for what's about to happen, but we don't at all. We do not apologize for what's about to happen.
No.
Listen. Hyped up and let down, you know the drill. Players that got us hyped up, big-time performances, and players that got us let down. People that we had some expectations for didn't come through. As you can tell by both our shirts, that the Miami Dolphins are going to start us out here with hyped up because, my goodness, if you missed it, someone was playing Madden at Hard Rock Stadium on Sunday. The Miami Dolphins pummeled the Denver Broncos into the ground by a score of 70-20. They scored 10 touchdowns. That's right, 10. Oh my goodness, okay, all right. So here's the thing. Ready? Oh my gosh. All right, hang on. There's so many things. Listen, part of me still can't believe it. I've never seen
No way.
this. I mean, we as football fans have not seen a performance like this from a team. Just an absolute spanking and a half like we saw at Hard Rock Stadium on Sunday. And here are the players here. Because Devon Achane and his, really, I'm going to call it his first NFL game. He played like 10% of the snaps in the Patriots game in week 2. But in his first NFL game, 18 carries for 203 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. 4 catches on 4 targets for 30 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's right, those receiving touchdowns were thrown right-handed, just as a little anecdote right there we want to talk about from our left-handed quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. He's incredible, by the way. 51.3 fantasy points for Devon Achane. If anyone had him in their starting lineup, congratulations. I would be so shocked to hear if anyone... if you had Devon Achane in your starting lineup, let us know, because you nailed it. Way to go. Like, this was just unbelievable. 51.3 fantasy points for Devon Achane. I mean, wow. So one guy had a great game, huh? No, let's look at his running mate, Raheem Mostert. 13 carries for 82 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. He had 7 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown, and that totaled out to 45.2 fantasy points. What? What are we doing
This
here?
is it's insane. You've listed 2 players.
There's 2
That's
more.
it.
There's 2 more to talk about from this Dolphins team. It's unbelievable. I've never seen. Listen, I'm not anywhere taking away from the offensive masterclass and just beatdown that happened. The Broncos are bad. The Broncos are a bad team.
Let's acknowledge this for a moment, because obviously the Dolphins offense is insanely high powered. I mean, we've been talking since last year about full utilization. What's the ceiling? Apparently the ceiling is more than 70 points because they decided to take a knee instead of go for the record. But let's just acknowledge how bad the Broncos are as well. The Dolphins will not do this to the Bills next week.
No.
The Broncos, holy cow.
Yeah.
I cannot believe, let's get back to the good stuff with the Dolphins in a second here, but I cannot believe that Vance Joseph is still hired. He is still staffed on the Broncos after letting a team put 70 points, 10 offensive touchdowns.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the Cowboys in week 1 against the Giants where it was just special teams and defense doing everything. That is insane. The Broncos, Russell Wilson has played himself out of the Hall of Fame. No doubt. No question in my mind.
Oh, my gosh.
No question.
Yeah,
he was right there on the border as being like, he's likely a Hall of Famer. And now it is a complete disaster.
Yeah.
He will go down. This is his legacy now. This is his legacy. What he's done here in Denver.
Yeah. This is not anywhere close to what we as football fans, as fantasy managers, as I'm sure Broncos fans hoped would happen with this Sean Payton coming in. He's going to fix Russ, and this team is going to challenge for the division, and this team is going to be great. No, it's not. You just got 70 points dropped on your head. This is unbelievable. Let's go to Tua Tagovailoa. 23 for 26 for 309 yards and 4 touchdowns. He started the game 17 for 17 straight completions to start this game. Unbelievable. 36.36 fantasy points for Tua Tagovailoa. Congratulations if you had him in your lineup there. And then the Cheetah, Tyreek Hill, 30.7 fantasy points, 9 catches on 11 targets for 157 yards and a touchdown. I almost couldn't believe how easy the first drive of the game went. I almost couldn't believe it. It was 2 plays.
Oh my gosh! Second play.
Let's hand it off to Mostert, and then it's, oh my gosh, how does Tyreek Hill have open space for 15 yards around him in any direction? Like, what is going? Like,
you couldn't
how did this
even
just
see
happen?
a defender on the screen.
Yeah, I could not believe it. Just as Dolphins fans, my goodness, what a freaking game!
It's unreal. It is literally unreal. Noah, you were here just a couple weeks ago to watch the Dolphins and Chargers with me here in SoFi. And we, per usual, because this is our 3rd game together that we went to SoFi, we have this tradition where we play Madden. And we try to win a Super Bowl before we watch the actual football game.
Yeah.
I don't recall if you and I ever put up 70 points in Madden.
Nope.
I don't think we did that just a couple weeks ago. This is unreal.
Yeah.
This is unreal. One thing here, because we didn't get to do waiver wires for this episode. Obviously, we're gonna keep calling him A-Chain, right? We're gonna keep calling him A-Chain.
We'll get out ahead of it here. Devon A-Chain has now come out and said he would prefer for the pronunciation of his name to be Devon A-Chan. So instead of like A-Train, Yes, we will still call him A-Chain because I'm going to be attempting to call him A-Chain, but it is going to take some time for me to definitely get into that. But Devon A-Chan, I'll try first there. There you go, yeah.
We'll do our best here because we got to know his name. We have to learn his name because, just for fun, he's already 10th in rushing yards on the season of all running backs. You have to start him. You have to start him after this game.
Yeah.
I don't care who your other running backs are. Maybe you put him as flex at worst, but like you have to start him, right?
Yeah.
He's not going to put this up again. Maybe, but I mean, you have to. You have to start him, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, there's no question.
Yeah. Yes, you do. If he's on your team, you start him until he either plays his way out of needing to stay in your lineup, or I don't know what to tell you. Like, what could be the situation? I mean, if you're picking him up off the waiver wire, odds are maybe you have like two super solid guys, and so maybe he's a flex consideration. And if you've got somebody who's maybe it's a matchup dependent play, but he is a threat to. Listen, so here's what I'm predicting is how it's going to play out in the future. Obviously, Savon Ahmed did not play, and I believe A-Chain probably jumped him in the depth chart. I think. I don't know for sure.
There's Jeff a question?
Wilson, I don't know how we do this here. I'm not a GM. I'm not a coach. I don't know. I don't know what their minds go through. He should be the RB2 right now on the Miami Dolphins. We have seen that Savon Ahmed, when he was healthy in the Patriots game and in week 1, he was getting run. He was getting somewhere between 8 to 10 touches a game, whatever it was, behind Raheem Mostert. I believe this will truly turn into and mold into, while it is Raheem Mostert and Devon A-Chan, that it will be I think it will be a 50-50 split. I think each of these guys will see between 10 and 15 touches a game. And either of them is a threat to house any carry or reception they have. Either one. They are both lightning quick. We saw it. That's how it goes. What's going to throw a wrench in the plan, and I don't know when this happens, is when Jeff Wilson returns from IR. I don't know what happens then, and that's something we're going to have to discuss when it happens. He is eligible to be back week 5 if he is healthy. I would love it if they were like, hey, dude, thanks for sitting out 4 games. Pack your bags, we're trading you, or whatever it is. But, like...
yeah.
I don't know what happens then. But for now, Devon A-Chan at least needs to be a flex play for you in your fantasy lineups if you have him. And or at the very, I'll say this, at the very least a strong consideration each week. It should be every week. If you have him on your team, it should be, okay, should I go A-Chan or should I go this guy? He should be the play. This week against the Bills, it's going to be a harder matchup. It's not going to be the Denver Broncos. So maybe you're looking, okay, do I go Puka Nacua or do I go Devon A-Chan? I don't know. Like, that's something you need to probably make your decision on. It's probably a hard decision you're going to have to make. If it's matchup dependent and whatever, maybe you go Puka. I'm not sure. But all of that being said, I am so serious when I say this. And Wes, when we were, okay, I promise this is the end of us being Dolphins fans right here.
All right, yeah, I'm ready.
Wes, when we were at SoFi Stadium for week 1, and during the national anthem, we were up in the top section, and the anthem is going, and I'm looking, looking down to our sideline, and I just became, I don't know what it was. I became overwhelmed with like emotion, and my eyes started to tear up because I was looking down and I was just looking at this line, and it was Mike McDaniel and Tua and Xavier Howard and Tyreek Hill and Alec Ingold, and those are the captains right there, and they were about to go out. And for some reason, it just felt different. It just felt different. And I don't know what it was, but it is very clear this is different this year. And I'm being so serious when I say this. The Miami Dolphins will be playing for a shot to play in Vegas in February. The Miami Dolphins will be in the AFC Championship this year. And I'm willing to say the Miami Dolphins will be in the Super Bowl this year. I'm so serious. I'm so serious when I say it. It is this team.
Yeah.
The defense has gotten better every single week. It was a little rough in week 1. It was better in week 2, and in week 3 it was fantastic. This defense looked so good. The offense showed us they can do it through the air in week 1, showed us they can do it on the ground in week 2, and then just laid the mother load down in week 3. 750 something total yards of offense. And it wasn't like Tua threw for 550 yards. No, it was like 350 yards each in the air and on the ground.
Yeah.
This Miami team is special. This Miami team is very special.
There should be one last thing, and it's for fantasy, and then we'll move on to the rest of our show.
Yeah.
Tua should be your starting quarterback in fantasy. I don't know if there was ever any question after week 2 with the Patriots and Belichick's defensive mind. I passed by a Patriots fan, a friend of mine. I was like, you should feel really good about your defense because you held the Dolphins to 20-something points. And then the next week they do this. But Tua should be your starting quarterback. He should be your starting quarterback. I don't care. I mean, the only other quarterbacks I think that if you happen to have Patrick Mahomes and Tua or Josh Allen and Tua, then Tua needs to be your starting quarterback over anybody in the NFL. It's clear.
Yeah, 100%. I'll revisit something real quick and then we'll move on here because we're going to talk about this guy in just a minute or two. Wes, we had a debate about Justin Herbert this year. Yeah. And we talked about where they would the draft pick comparison between taking Justin Herbert in the 5th round and taking Tua in the 9th round and what you could do with your teams there. And I was pretty adamant about they won't have near the same stat line. They're not going to be Herbert will certainly be better than Tua. I'm getting proved wrong by my own QB right now, dude. I'm so I've never been so happy to be wrong about something in my life. I've never been so happy. And listen, don't get me wrong. The top 3 quarterbacks in fantasy right now are Kirk Cousins, Justin Herbert, and Tua Tagovailoa. Those are the 3 guys at the top right now. Things will probably even out for the big names as we get further into the season. Maybe they won't. We don't know. But these Tua and Herbert, pick number 5 and pick number 6 in the 20. What were we at? 2020. Is it 2020 in the 2020 draft?
Yep.
Those 2 dudes are balling. As fantasy quarterbacks, those 2 dudes are balling.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and make no mistake, Herbert is a top 3 quarterback right now. So it's not like that is not living up to his draft pick. But let's also not forget, we're in week 3. So let's see what happens here because there's a lot of expectations for these big players. And some of the players we're going to talk about here in a second are letting us down too. And to the point where we got to talk about whether or not this is Fluke or for real. So let's continue on past the Dolphins.
We'll jump into it. We appreciate you letting us have our fun here with Miami. We'll jump into it here. Guy we just talked about, Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen, his wide receiver 1, absolutely lit it up this weekend. My goodness. Keenan Allen, 47.5 fantasy points, 18 catches on 20 targets for 215 receiving yards. And if that wasn't enough, he threw a 49-yard touchdown to Mike Williams.
That's right.
It was almost hysterical at the moment because I have Keenan Allen, the guy I was playing against, had Justin Herbert. I ended up losing this week, but it was so funny because it's like, wow, I get the notification, touchdown Keenan Allen, and I go and I look, and I'm like, Herbert didn't, what just, oh, got it. Yeah, that is the most typical thing to happen here. Yeah, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams gets in the end zone. He just needed the right quarterback, I guess. Who knows? RIP, his ACL. Who knows? Whatever. Listen, those two guys lit it up. 47.5 points, and Justin Herbert 35.3 points. His first ever, I believe, if I believe this is correct, his first ever 400-plus yard game. Keenan Allen, no Mike Williams now. I can only expect more great things out of this duo here. It's going to be a lot of fun. Really excited to see these guys balling and panning out like I hope they would, like we hope they would this year for sure. Devontae Adams, another wide receiver with 20 targets. My goodness, 13 catches for 172 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was the one who buried me in that Sunday night performance that put me under the rug. That was a fun one there. My goodness, we put out a tweet and or an X or whatever. We put it out on TikTok. We put it on Instagram, stuff like that. Devontae Adams, quit fading him. We did this before the season. Quit fading him just because Jimmy Garoppolo is his quarterback. Jimmy G can support a wide receiver 1. Like he's done it before. He's going to be just fine. And I think Adams is probably pretty happy with how that performance went for him. So he was definitely getting us hyped up. Kirk Cousins, whoa, this dude is lighting it up, and he's probably the best. I mean, not probably. He's the best 0-3 quarterback out here, for sure. My goodness,
for sure.
367 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had a 10-yard rush, but 31.68 fantasy points. We talked about it last year. We talked about it this year. The quarterback who is the guy of the wide receiver 1, or I mean, that's not Justin Jefferson yet, but he has a guy like the quarterback for Justin Jefferson is good. Is going to be good for fantasy.
Yes.
Because
yes.
That's going to, I think we can all agree on that one there. Patrick Mahomes gets back on track from where you drafted him at. 31.68 fantasy points in like 2.5 quarters, because they were just absolutely laying the law down. That was just okay.
Apologies to the Chiefs Kingdom for being surpassed, the 41-10 blowout victory being overshadowed by Taylor Swift's appearance and the Dolphins getting 70 points, because we were just talking like a week ago, like, I don't know if the Chiefs are going to be back, and they do this, and we're like, but T Swift is in the building, but freaking let's go.
T Swift's there.
This is the best football game ever.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go. It was very funny. My wife was in the other room when I saw Adam Schefter's tweet about Taylor Swift is at Arrowhead Stadium to watch Travis Kelce. And as soon as she walked back in the room, I just held up my phone and showed it to her. And I'm not joking. Her reaction was, and it was just the most incredible audible gasp. Just like this was her Super Bowl. This was her Roman Empire. Was this? She was awesome. All over it. Not even kidding. Like 40 minutes later, I glance over at her, and she's still just looking at like Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce tweets on her phone. She's just scrolling Twitter, looking at it. Just
my girlfriend was asking me questions like, "So what's Travis Kelce like?" And it was like, okay, so we got to figure out, like, because people are like, "Oh, he's a football player. He's gonna be tough and stuff." And it's like, I don't know him personally. Like, none of us do. We just see that he's an angry football player, but like, I'm sure he's a good guy. He's got a podcast. Go watch his.
Yeah, he gained like 400,000 followers on Instagram. His jersey went to like top 5 in sales over the weekend. Like, also, I'm like, guys, I don't know how long this is gonna last, but like a football jersey isn't cheap. Like you guys all just went and bought these jerseys, and it was like, all right, cool, whatever. That was a fun situation there. We definitely all got to watch that. A couple other guys here that just had us hyped up. I'm so happy to see Adam Thielen on this list, because I think we all had low expectations. We thought he'd probably lead the team in targets with a rookie. Hey, maybe this offense looked a little better with Andy Dalton under center. I don't know. Listen, I'm not going to say anything about that. There might have been some good defensive play, some rust to shake off from Bryce Young, some NFL jitters, whatever it is. But Adam Thielen, nonetheless, 31.5 fantasy points, 11 catches for 145 yards and a touchdown. And then in the same game on the other side of the ball, Kenneth Walker III. My goodness, 30.6 fantasy points, 18 carries for 97 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had 3 catches for 59 yards. We asked what if. We asked what if Zach Charbonnet really is just the backup. Now, I think Charbonnet is going to come into his own. His snap share has gone up each week so far, but Kenneth Walker is legit. We all were a little worried when they drafted Charbonnet. We thought he was going to have a really big role. I think Kenneth Walker is I believe he's a top 3 running back in fantasy right now. I could be wrong on that. He's either top 3 or top 8, I believe.
I will verify.
But Kenneth Walker III is awesome, and it's good to see him. It was only 3 catches, but it was for 59 yards was great. The 2 scores obviously is awesome, and he's picking up where he left off because he's just killing it right now. So
the snap share is fascinating because he is playing the way that you asked the what if about. But Zach Charbonnet had a 43% snap count, and KW3 had a 51%. So he's not just the backup.
Right.
And Kenneth Walker III is still putting up 30-plus points.
Yeah.
Yes, he is running back 3 on the season.
My goodness.
And we'll see how that continues to play as the Seahawks are going to have to play the Niners, still, and how that division, everything else goes. But, I mean, he is playing the way that we thought he was going to perform this season before they drafted Charbonnet. Good for him. Very happy. Yeah. I wish I drafted him, too.
Yeah, I definitely wish I drafted him. That was disappointing. Listen, let down. Let's get a little sad here. If you guys let us down, Devontae Smith, especially off of a big week, that was a disappointment there. Only 6.8 fantasy points, 4 catches for 5 targets for 28 yards. I don't know how much of it was, hey, A.J. Brown was a little pissed off last week and we need to prioritize him right now, or if it was just, hey, we're running the ball so well right now and one wide receiver is going to have a big game right now, then that's just kind of how it's going to be it. And A.J. Brown was in an advantageous matchup most of the night. Dude, some of the just plays he was making were just, it was, okay, 8-yard hitch, boom, turn around, catch it, and then it was like, oh, cool, and now just break a tackle and then break another tackle, and then it's just, I believe I don't know if it was, I think it was Joe Buck, I'm not sure, but one of them was like, yeah, he's just like a 6'3", 220-pound running back. That's pretty, but he's playing wide receiver. Like, it's just how he's looking right now. He is killing it.
Yeah.
So Devontae Smith, a bit of a letdown, but definitely better days to come. We know that, and it's Eagles offense didn't look exactly like it did last year, but it did look like their best game of the season so far. They looked they looked their best, and I think there is still room for improvement. And there were great games from multiple players on that Eagles offense. So definitely better days to come though for Devontae Smith. Bijan Robinson, a little bit of a letdown here. 10 points, so not necessarily terrible, but definitely just something that you were hoping for a little more of there. Only 10 carries, 33 yards. He had 4 catches for 27 yards, but not exactly what you're hoping for. But there are better days to come again for Bijan Robinson. Just a little let down, just a little bummed. That's it.
Just let down.
Same boat here for CeeDee Lamb. 10.2 fantasy points, only 4 catches on just 7 targets for 53 yards, 2 carries for 9 yards. This Cowboys offense, I don't know what was going on here, but Arizona Cardinals came to life. I mean, I know that they lost Trayvon Diggs over there in Dallas, but I don't think giving up 28 points is just a result of losing Trayvon Diggs. I mean, Micah Parsons was pretty neutralized during that game. He was not really doing anything for the Cowboys defense. James Conner was like a freaking wrecking ball. Like, I don't know if you remember, like, the Cardinals might have just played their way out of the number 1 pick. Like, I'm not really sure. And listen, good for them. Good for Jonathan Gannon getting his first win as a head coach. Good for Josh Dobbs getting his first win as a starting quarterback. Pretty impressive performance there, but definitely just a little let down by the Cowboys offense, and CeeDee Lamb in turn with that as well. Oh, T. Higgins, we thought we might have been okay. We thought we might have been all right. T. Higgins, 4.1 fantasy points after a big week 2 definitely a letdown. We're going to talk about them and Fluke for real in just a little bit, so I'll leave that for now. And Kyron Williams, bit of a letdown, 8.5 fantasy points, only 10 carries for 38 yards. He had 2 catches, but 7 targets for 27 yards there. I was actually on a plane as this game was going, but we had some access to watch some of the games here on the flight, so I was able to watch this game. 7 targets is encouraging. Not as encouraging when truly 5 of those 7, the only ones that weren't caught, were very poor passes because Matthew Stafford was under a lot of pressure. And so this isn't necessarily a Kyron Williams situation as much as it was just like the flow of the game. The Bengals pass rush was just absolutely after Matthew Stafford for this whole game. So Kyron Williams didn't get as much of the PPR value there and not much going on the ground. However, just a letdown because Kyron Williams was like the only running back to take snaps for this Rams offense again. Like, Kyron Williams is a must start in my eyes. Like, he is absolutely the guy for this Rams backfield. What we all thought Cam Akers could be, it's Kyron Williams. We thought, Cam Akers, there's no one challenging Cam Akers. It's who? Kyron Williams? Yeah, Kyron Williams, apparently. Kyron
Very
Williams
much so.
Is the guy. The backup played like 4 snaps, I believe. That was it. So,
do you want to know Kyron Williams' snap count from that game on Monday night?
Was it 100%?
It was 100%.
Okay, because I know that Ronnie Rivers did play 4 snaps, but if I was recalling correctly, I think it was just Kyron Williams was also on the field at the time as well. Like, yes. Kyron Williams played every single down for the Rams offense. Must start. Not even kidding. Must start. I am so glad that in a couple of my leagues where I had Nick Chubb, I spent like a freaking animal to get Kyron Williams in week 1. It just felt like something, and I'm so glad because he's able to slot in there as a running back. Not necessarily Nick Chubb level, but Kyron Williams let down, but he is still a must start from here on out. That is hyped up and let down. And that's kind of an intro into Fluke for real here because we got some guys to talk about. Guys that popped off, guys that didn't do well. We got to talk about their performances and see what it is. And let's start out with Devon Achane. Achane. We kind of talked about it a little bit. 51. Okay, Fluke for real. I'm going to say for real. But 51.3 is not for real. It is. This was just a very big showing of what he can do. Correct, Wes? Are you with me?
I'm 100% in agreement.
Okay.
He is this good, but I don't know how many more times he's going to get 30 points even.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. He is very good. So he instilling confidence in Devon Achane, but it is 51.3 will not happen again. And my goodness, if it does, just everyone quit the league because the Dolphins are going to win the next 10 Super Bowls. So if this, listen. Sorry.
And that's never lose.
Go. Yeah. Adam Thielen, 31.5 points. We talked about it a little bit. Fluke for real, Wes. I got some thoughts. I want to hear yours.
Oh, if Andy Dalton is under center, roll him out. Roll out any of these Panthers because we got 2 more Panthers we're talking about here.
Yeah.
This Panthers team looks great with a quarterback that has experience. So, and they're not going to continue to start Andy Dalton once Bryce Young is healthy. Just as an organization, of course, you have to play the number 1 pick overall. It's just the way that it goes. But this is the whole point we talked about with fantasy. Rookie quarterbacks do not help their wide receivers. I mean, if you don't mind, let's just talk about the next 2 as well.
Yeah, DJ Chark, 18.6 fantasy points. Fantastic call, by the way, because it was exactly the kind of play you talked about, too, is these deep ball touchdowns to DJ Chark.
Almost the same stat line that I said, too.
Yeah, 11 targets for him as well, so he was involved plenty. 4 catches, 86 yards, and a touchdown. And then Miles Sanders, 17.2 fantasy points, 9 carries for 24 yards, and a rushing touchdown. Rushing touchdown at the end of the game did save him a bit, but that's how games work. Garbage time happens, and that's how things go.
And 9 targets for a running back.
9 targets. Yeah, that was my thing for having him me staking my ground as him to be a top 10 running back in fantasy is that I believe the PPR value is going to be there. And over the first few weeks, we've seen Chuba Hubbard play a role, and he's in the game at certain times, and he's being used when he's in the game. But he's only don't get worried about Chuba Hubbard. He's only at like a 30% snap share. Like, he is not in the game much. It's just frustrating if you're a Miles Sanders owner to be like, why is Howard in there? God, why did they pass it to him? That could have been a Miles Sanders target. Like, what are we doing here? And so you feel it a little extra there. I definitely do. I'm a Miles Sanders owner. But the Panthers offense seem to be playing better and having better fantasy performances behind Andy Dalton. Like we said, Bryce Young will come back and will play. He is the number 1 overall pick. Maybe this performance by this offense shows them a little bit more of how they can better utilize this team for Bryce Young. He gets a little bit of confidence. He can look at the tape with Andy Dalton and go, okay, how did you do that there? What did that look like? Andy Dalton is a smart guy. Bryce Young is also a smart guy and eager to learn. They will figure things out. And I think more days closer to this will come for the Panthers offense. I do believe this will be more of how we're seeing this play out. My panic level of Miles Sanders was starting to get up there a little bit, but I'm glad that we have this week. It was a good thing to see. So definitely a good sign there. Alexander Madison, baby. 17.5 fantasy points, 20 carries for...
me.
You do it, baby. You do it.
Alexander Madison. Let's fucking go.
Had to leave it to you, dude. Let's see, he was your stud for week 3 there, and he definitely had a great performance there. 17.5 fantasy points, instilled some confidence, nearly 5 yards per carry, 5 catches, 7 targets for 32 yards. We're going to have to see what the backfield looks like with Cam Akers. But Alexander Madison probably felt the pressure a little bit because he definitely put on a show and had his best game of the season. So it was good to see him do that. Oh, baby. Tank Dell. We were talking and getting excited about Nico Collins last week. Rightfully so. If I had to make a choice right now on who I would rather have for the rest of the year between Nico Collins and Tank Dell, I'm taking Tank Dell. This dude is freaking awesome. This dude is defying all the odds. He was the poster boy for a clip we had earlier in the year where I was saying, I don't trust this wide receiver class. They're too small. Tank Dell said, I'll show you where to shove your small, and it's up your butt. Okay? So that's how that went. Because Tank Dell is killing it. 25.5.
Don't phrase it like that.
Yeah, whatever. Welcome back to Fourth and Joe Fantasy, the most entertaining fantasy football podcast on the planet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there you go. Listen, 25.5 fantasy points for Tank Dell. 5 catches, 145 yards, and a touchdown. Tank Dell is finding himself burning some of these corners, and he was doing it. He looked so good. It looked so natural. He was just killing it. And CJ Stroud has the connection with him. Something about a rookie-to-rookie connection, I feel, which is why I was excited about Jonathan Mingo, which was why Mingo was a guy for me that I was like,
you're
Mingo
taking the words out of my mouth. I love you.
This is rookie-to-rookie connection when these guys are growing together, learning the league together. Something special there. And Tank Dell, I think, is going to be a very special guy. And I feel like I had to put him on the trade block, and I have him in 3 leagues because I picked him up off the waiver wire because you told me to last week, Wes. And I'm like, well, he's just on the bench. Like, I don't know what to do with him. But if he's going to keep chugging up 20-point games, like, am I going to be starting Tank Dell over DK Metcalf at some point in the season? Like, what are we doing here? Like, this is just.
May I answer that question? Just to ponder this. Why give him to your opponent?
Right. That's also true. I mean,
unless you can get a masterpiece.
Right. You can have the fear of, well, what if he's going to have a huge game on my bench? Well, it's better that he's having a huge game on your bench than in your opponent's starting lineup. So, and then you have a great fill-in for a bye week if you got a bye week coming up or something like that. So, I threw him on the trade block, but I think I made a little bit of peace today when I was just looking at the stats and I was going, yeah, no, he's the dude there in the receiver room.
He's good.
He's a good guy. Yeah, another good guy. Sam freaking Laporta. Oh my gosh, had his breakout had his breakout game, 8 catches for 84 yards and a touchdown. Huge touchdown. He's found himself wide open down the field. It was awesome. He is defying the odds when it comes to rookie tight ends in the league. And if there was one that was going to do it, we looked back at what TJ Hawkinson had done on this offense and how there's really not a huge amount of pass catchers outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown and maybe Jahmyr Gibbs. Laporte is that dude, and he belongs in lineups. He is a top 10 tight end this season going forward, and there's no doubt about it. He's an every week starter. You got to have him in the lineup. Even when Jameson Williams comes back, he has developed the rapport, the trust. He's proved himself in the Lions offense. I love him. I love him so much. I love him
too. I believe he had 77 yards last week as well, if I'm not mistaken.
7 for 77, I believe, yeah.
So this is him. This is how he plays. This isn't just a great tight end performance, and we're just going to try to evaluate, well, should we pick him up because the tight end position is a graveyard? No. This is back-to-back weeks of a solid performance, a winning performance for fantasy. He's the guy.
Yeah, 100%.
Love him very much.
We'll jump through a few more guys here just real quick on the good side of Fluke for real. DeAndre Swift is making a name for himself here because he is living up to the potential. We asked what if, and he is doing it. 14.8 fantasy points. This is for real. He split carries with Kenneth Gainwell. DeAndre Swift has 16 carries and 130 yards. Kenneth Gainwell had 14 carries for like 45 yards. So it's not like it's like they're both doing this. Gainwell will still have his weeks. He'll still be okay. He'll still be a flex play, maybe. I mean, it's something we probably got to look at if you're desperate. But DeAndre Swift is running away with this job, and he, while it may be a split backfield, he is definitely proving himself as the better running back for them. So we can play a lot of game of what ifs on what if Kenneth Gainwell was healthy for week 2, and we just never saw Swift be unleashed, but we did. And so Swift is
the Brock Purdy question.
Swift is the better running back here for the Eagles. Jerome Ford in a matchup that we both thought maybe this isn't going to be the best one, and the box score shows you it wasn't. 10 carries for just 18 yards against the Titans. They did their job, but he fell in the end zone not once on a run, but he caught another one in the air. 19.1 fantasy points. I mean, Wes, we both said it. Even if they signed Kareem Hunt, Jerome Ford is the top running back, and this proved it. Short week for Kareem Hunt. We'll see more next week, but I picked up Kareem Hunt in a league, and I've got a waiver claim in to drop him for somebody else. I mean, I think it was just more of a let's see what happens here. Jerome Ford is going to be the guy, though, because in a game against a tough Titans defense, 19.1 fantasy points. Maybe that's the ceiling that we see. Maybe we don't see many more games above that mark, but he is definitely going to be a solid play in your lineups each week, and he's a starting running back in the NFL for a run-first team, I would say. So, Jerome Ford, I think he looked really good.
We'll see what happens with Hunt in the next week because he'll have a full week with the team and maybe he'll learn more of the playbook. And maybe the playbook is still very similar to what he remembered when he was with Stefanski last year. So it's probably not too much of a learning curve there. But it's so nice to know that even when Jerome Ford is stuffed for only 18 yards, he can still be a red zone target in the receiving game, which is huge. And this is part of the point that we were making about him being a dud. It's like he may have a bad game, but he's still going to be the guy. Don't trade him away or trade for him if he doesn't have a good game. But no, here he is. I've never been happier to be wrong about a dud because I thought it was just a 1 week dud. And I thought he was going to be for real. He is for real. This guy's good.
Looks good. A couple of Chiefs running backs here. Jerick McKinnon with 17.8 points. Clyde Edwards-Helaire with 12.7 points. Fluke. I'm calling Fluke on both of them.
Yeah.
It's Pacheco's backfield. Jerick McKinnon, guys, he had 5 touches. He had 5 touches in the game. 2 of them went for touchdowns. That's how that played out. That's
receiving.
That's how that played out. So that's his game. That's how he does it. And I don't think he's even worth a waiver ad, honestly. And I just think it's going to be – you're never going to start him confidently. You're going to be hoping that he does something. So Fluke for Jerick McKinnon, Fluke for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 15 carries for 55 yards and a touchdown. was all after the starters went out in this game. It was just the garbage time. It was the Mike White to Robbie Chosen kind of touchdown there. It was just not much going on. So a couple of flukes there. Last three here. Cortland Sutton with 19.1 fantasy points. I'm going to say for real, because he is the top target. He is what we thought was going to happen last year. Jerry Jeudy is not involved, like, at all. Like, he's non-existent on this offense. Very weird to see. So Cortland Sutton is, if you're going to start one of the Broncos receivers, it's going to be him. But you're not really feeling that great about it. So do what you want on that. I mean, I probably wouldn't if I didn't have to. So
yeah. Also, keep in mind they had like 12 possessions, because the team they played against scored 10 touchdowns and punted once and went for it on fourth down once. So that's a lot of drives.
Yeah.
So I don't know how often that's going to happen again. And the most that game was ridiculous.
That was insane. Last two here. Two guys with pretty much the same stat line here. Calvin Austin with 15.2 points. Pharaoh Brown with 15.1 points. Calvin Austin, Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver. Pharaoh Brown, tight end for the Patriots, I believe. Like third string tight end. Both of them had 2 catches for 71 and 72 yards and a touchdown. Flukes. There you go. That's pretty much what we got to say there. That's all there is to it. Few bad guys here, and these are bad guys. These are real bad guys. Couple of Bengals. Joe Burrow, 8.16 fantasy points, and T. Higgins, 4.1 fantasy points. The calf is restricting Joe Burrow. That is very clear. That is very clear. And so, Wes, I believe both of us are out on Joe Burrow. I saw you in a couple of leagues that we were in make some trades before the Monday night game, before we got into the week last week, sending Joe Burrow away. We don't know how long this calf is going to linger. Clearly, he wants to play through it. Clearly, he did. He threw 49 passes. 8.16 fantasy points, though, is not great, and it was not the Joe Burrow that we've seen, not the Joe Burrow that can roll out of the pocket and extend a play, not the Joe Burrow that hits Jamar Chase for a deep pass for a touchdown. No, it was dink and dunk Joe Burrow because he didn't have much time because he couldn't move around a ton to make plays to... he just had a dink and dunk. 26 completions for 259 yards. It's less than 10 yards of completion.
Yeah.
It's not great. It's not great if you're a Joe Burrow owner. It's not great if you're a Bengals fan. The flip side and the silver lining of this is that we've seen, week 1 was a little strange, not to take away from the Browns defense, but week 1 was a little strange. There's a lot of rain. But week 2, T. Higgins was the wide receiver 4. And week 3, Jamar Chase was the wide receiver 6. So Burrow can do enough to support one of these wide receivers at a time, it feels like. And you'd probably think more that often than not that'll end up being Jamar Chase.
I agree.
But this, last year before the season started, we said, hey, which team do you want the most shares of on your fantasy team? And it was the Cincinnati Bengals. And I want one share of one player, and it's Jamar Chase. And that's it, really. Jamar Chase had a 26-point week, I believe. Didn't score the touchdown. Obviously, he had it was 11 catches or something like that for 140 or somewhere around that area. It's difficult, and until Burrow is recovered here, it's gonna be hard to start anyone besides Jamar Chase in confidence. I guess that's where I'm at right now.
After the game, Joe Burrow was asked about his calf injury, and he said, "I didn't suffer any setbacks, except in fantasy." Except in the fantasy football world, my friend, this is your setback. You are rarely going to get 20 points if you have this calf strain. And
Yeah.
I mean, the next player we're going to talk about is who I traded for, so I'm not like stoked that I traded Burrow away. But this is for real. This is the way it's going to be for Burrow until they finally choose to rest him or until some miraculous healing process happens between Sunday games. And Jared, our friend from the start in the offseason that was saying he's going to start his very first fantasy football league and use the 4th and troll advice. He was reaching out to me, and for 3 weeks straight, he would just send me a message, friggin' Joe Burrow. And then week 2, friggin' Joe Burrow. And then he tells me, friggin' Joe Burrow, I dropped him.
No.
I was like, yeah, you don't have to drop him, but you could maybe trade him or put him on your bench. But here's the thing. I mean, who are we to say, oh, what a terrible decision? Because look at this. Look how he's been playing terrible for fantasy.
That's so funny. No, that's just
friggin' Joe Burrow.
I dropped him. That's how we're all feeling, Jared. I promise.
Oh
man, listen, that's a little bit of info on the Bengals. Hopefully, you guys can take something away from that. Guy you traded for here in a few leagues, Justin Fields, 12.6 fantasy points in a game where you're down 40 points. I'm expecting the quarterback of that team to have 50 pass attempts by the end of the game. To
like
try and
Kirk
get
Cousins.
yourself back into the game. Correct. Justin Fields, 22 passes thrown. 11 for 22, 50% completion, 99 yards and a touchdown, 1 interception, ran the ball 11 times for 47 yards. This was my worry with Fields, is that the leap in the passing game doesn't happen. And we're only 3 weeks in, but I don't know why this guy holds onto the ball as long as he does and doesn't get the ball, doesn't read his openings and his offensive opportunities.
Yeah.
I had a little glimmer of hope on the Chase Claypool touchdown in week 2 against Tampa because he fit that pass in there like a freaking glove. It was like, all right, there you go. Feel like that's what we were hoping for. And you throw 22 balls in a game where you're down 40. It's like, what are we doing here? It's disappointing for a guy who was highly drafted like Justin Fields, a guy that we thought could make a leap and definitely have the capability to. I mean, I'm not a Bears fan. I'm not very close with very many Bears fans, but I've seen some Bears fans on Twitter just saying this organization just destroys quarterbacks. They just do not know how to coach quarterbacks, how to build them up, whatever it is. I've seen people saying that the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams next year. That they're going to move on from Fields that quickly and just
they're on pace to be on the clock.
Yeah, it is disappointing if you're a Bears fan, and I'm sorry. I feel bad for Bears fans, for Justin Fields owners, for it's tough. It's a tough situation that we're watching play out here, and so.
Everything is set up for him to succeed. I mean, the whole offseason was so much that looked right. I mean, they invested in the offensive line. They got DJ Moore. You could see the way that Justin Fields played last year and the way he finished was like, okay, he is starting to emerge. I know the whole team kind of is falling apart and their defense isn't doing very well, but it's going against all expectations that we know of talented quarterbacks. Year 3 is when they hit. And the only pushback I'll have on this being for real, because let's be honest, this is for real. This is the way that Justin Fields is going to be until he has maybe one monster game. The only pushback I have is he still has that much of a rushing upside that he could still find his way into a 20-point game through in the fantasy football world, which is how we're viewing this lens. In fantasy football, he could rush for 50 yards and a touchdown, and that is a solid day for a running back. But then he's going to throw for a couple of yards as well, and that could be enough to help you not lose because of him. But this is bad. This organization is in shambles. It is a complete wreck right now.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. And listen, here is the one thing I'll say to close this out. If you are holding out hope for Justin Fields, he plays the Denver Broncos in week 4, who just got 70 dropped on their head. If there was a week that you were waiting on Justin Fields to be the top 3 fantasy quarterback you hoped he would, it's going to be next week. If it doesn't happen next week, I'm so serious. You could drop him.
Pull a Jared.
Pull a Jared. You're friggin' Justin Fields. I dropped him. There you go. We should put that on a shirt. That's fantastic, actually. All right, we'll go through the last few here. Kareem Hunt.
Thanks for hanging with us, everyone.
Yeah, a lot to talk about. We frothed about the Dolphins. Thanks for hanging out. Kareem Hunt, 5.5 fantasy points. We talked about it already. A little too early to tell, so we're going to need to see what this week 4 looks like for the backfield. But it should be okay. I'm not sure. I really don't have an opinion here on Kareem Hunt. I think if A-Chain is out there on your waiver wire and you need to drop candidate, I'm willing to say Kareem Hunt. You could drop Kareem Hunt for Devon A-Chain. That's what I mean. You could see how it plays out, but that's where I'm at on that. Darren Waller. I marked my words. He would score twice. 5 points. It could be because I have so many shares of him, but I'm still going to say Fluke. And here's why. He has had 2 very hard matchups in his first 3 games. The Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers. They was not favorable matchups for Darren Waller, for the Giants' offense in general. That was not good. The game against the Arizona Cardinals, we saw him go for 13.6 fantasy points, and from a tight end, that is what you are hoping for. He's got the touchdown upside at any given time. I still believe in Darren Waller. I believe he had a very rough start as far as his matchups and opponents go. I hope that's the case.
Here's the amazing thing. After all this, he's still tight end 8.
Yeah.
He's still tight end 8 on the season.
And he's still I think he's still top 5 in tight end yards. Or top 5, top 3, something like that. He's still, here's the other thing. He's still the target leader on the team. It is still what we predicted. The passing game is going through him. That is how this is going. Saquon Barkley obviously didn't play, but this is some tough matchups. Buy low. I think, honestly, I'd be willing to buy low on Darren Waller if I was in that situation, because I believe the owners are getting really frustrated. I think it's going to be more of the same as they saw last year. I think Darren Waller is a buy low candidate. He will have much better days ahead. I truly believe so.
One last thing. I know we're being thorough with all these players, but it's all Daniel Jones' fault. It's all Daniel Jones' fault.
Yeah.
And I can prove it statistically, because he is 29th in passing yards per attempt. 5.79 yards per attempt. That is why they are not succeeding. On third down, Daniel Jones continues to throw it within 4 yards of the first down marker on someone that is in man coverage. It's Daniel Jones' fault. So this will happen more often than we want, but at least we know why. It's not Darren Waller's fault. It's Daniel Jones not throwing the ball down the field. Jalen Hyatt had a goose egg from Thursday night.
Yeah.
He should be getting 5-6 targets, and they should be going down 20, 30 yards down the field. It's Daniel Jones, and that's why. But in the tight end world, as we just prefaced that it's a graveyard, he's still tight end 8. That's better than a lot of other options. So, unfortunately, it's a fluke.
Yeah, it is. And that's, Darren Waller, better days ahead, for sure. Najee Harris, 6.5 fantasy points. This is for real, and it's so unfortunate. Jaylen Warren, I believe Jaylen Warren will have the top running back job in Pittsburgh by week 8. And like he will be getting the majority of the snaps. I believe he will be the guy, and this is disappointing for Najee Harris owners. If you drafted him, you were hoping for a lot better, and he is.
One question.
Go ahead.
Do you even leave him on your bench?
I do.
At what point do you just drop him?
I can't drop him because he's still getting 20. He's a running back getting 20 opportunities a game, but he's not an every week starter, and he's a guy that's going to be a bye week fill-in or an injury filler that you're really hoping scores a touchdown. That's my outlook on Najee now. You're hoping he finds the end zone somehow. But Ben Roethlisberger is what made him who he was in his first year.
Yeah.
And it's disappointing to see this play out this way, for sure. Not what we hoped for. Jahmyr Gibbs, 9.2 fantasy points, 17 carries, 80 yards, 2 targets, only 1 catch. It's disappointing for sure from Jahmyr Gibbs, but I'm not. He proved to be the guy. I mean, people were talking about Craig Reynolds when David Montgomery was out. Early week for the Lions, so we could see maybe David Montgomery doesn't play again, but even so, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be just fine. 9.2 is not something I'm worried about. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yep.
Few AFC East
Gibbs
players.
is still fine.
Yeah, few AFC East players. Ramondre Stevenson, 7.2 fantasy points. Breece Hall, 3.7 fantasy points. And Garrett Wilson, 9.8 fantasy points. Personally, myself, I'm willing to say these are all fluky. And here's why. Ramondre Stevenson still had 23 opportunities in this game. He was outproduced by Ezekiel Elliott, but he's still heavily involved. So he'll be fine. I don't know if Trevor Siemian is the answer, but Robert Saleh is going to get fired if he doesn't bring in another quarterback. If he doesn't figure something out. I don't know if it's hey, we're going to see Jameis Winston on display for a week or two. Maybe they make a trade for Jameis Winston. Maybe when Kyler Murray comes back, the Jets trade for Josh Dobbs. If Josh Dobbs is the quarterback for the Jets, if Jameis Winston, I mean, I'll say it, yeah. If Jameis Winston's the quarterback for the Jets right now, they might be 3-0. Truly, they might have won their last 2 games. Genuinely. Zach Wilson is not it. And
yeah.
It's gross incompetence that Robert Saleh is just still standing there going, Zach's our guy, yeah. Zach gives us our best chance to win. BS. What a hot load of BS. No, he doesn't. You guys whiffed. It's okay. You whiffed, and you were really hopeful because you were excited about Aaron Rodgers, and that's not the case. Anyone right now is going to be better than Zach Wilson. I'll go try out. I'll go try out because
that's a good idea. We should all as trollers go try out and then let us know in the comments how it went.
Anyway, that being said, I think the quarterback situation improves, and I do think that Breece Hall has better days ahead. I think that Garrett Wilson has better days ahead. I think this is. So
you're holding out for another quarterback.
Breece Hall, I think, is a buy low candidate right now. I think Breece Hall owners are mad. And I think he's going to have much better days. He's seeing, I believe he's seeing more opportunities than Dalvin Cook already. And it's just it'll be fine. The Patriots defense is also not bad, so that's a situation as well.
Yeah.
Last few, real quick. Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars offense. Did we all get got?
Huh.
Was week 1 just a lie? I don't know what happened here, but it doesn't look good. I'm not crazy panicked on Trevor Lawrence. There were a handful of these passes that were almost touchdowns. Like, they were almost like a touchdown, just a little bit out, just, not a full effort by the receiver, whatever. But this is not good. This is not what we were hoping for when you drafted Trevor Lawrence or any of these Jaguars offensive players. Evan Ingram's like the most consistent player outside of Trevor, Travis Etienne. So, sadly, for real, but I think it could improve. They need to figure out what's going on here. It's very strange to see the Texans now own the Jaguars. So,
yeah, you have to just trust the process because it feels like it will turn around. We just don't know when. And think of what happened last year. It turned around halfway through the season, ended up storming their way to an AFC South division title. Right. So it's possible that Trevor Lawrence just needs a couple of weeks to kick into that first overall pick gear that he was drafted for, but it's been a rocky start for Jags owners outside of week 1 with Calvin Ridley and then Christian Kirk last week, and then this week I don't know, none of them really.
Yeah, nobody.
Jeez,
it's been disappointing. Last three running backs. Before I even tell you who they are, I'm calling all of it for real. Joshua Kelly, Tyler Algier, and Derrick Henry. This is absolutely unbelievable, especially Derrick Henry. But Joshua Kelly and Tyler Algier. Algier, after week 1, we said he could be a flex play, but Bijan is going to take over. I thought the Bijan takeover was going to be more gradual. It was it's week 2. Bijan's the guy. It was oh, okay. Well, got it. Not nice. There you go. Tyler Algier shouldn't be in lineups. He can be stashed because if something were to happen to Bijan, he will be one of the more valuable handcuffs. So there you go for that. The Miami Dolphins' run defense in week 1 was not good. I think we found our answer. Joshua Kelly.
Yeah.
11 carries for 12 yards. Huh?
Gross.
What? We thought we nailed our call. We were Joshua Kelly, we told y'all, sleeper of the year. We've been on this guy for a year now. Yeah. And then it's just been terrible. So Joshua Kelly, I'm calling for real on that. Derrick Henry, 11 carries for 20 yards. He's being out-snapped by Tajay Spears. I don't know what the strategy is here, but I would start Kyron Williams over Derrick Henry next week. I'm serious. I can't look at this and go, I feel good rolling this guy out again. No, you don't. I don't know if it's necessarily a thing where it's well, look at the matchup. Well, look at some of the matchups already. I don't know. Listen, the Cleveland Browns defense is good. Don't get me wrong. It's a good defense. 11 carries for 20 yards for Derrick Henry? 2 fantasy points? You drafted this guy in the first or second round.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? It's
a shame, really. Bit of a shame.
Bit of a shame.
So,
bit of a shame.
Look, we before the season started, right before the Lions Chiefs game, we talked about which coaches we think were going to get fired. I said Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
I'm glad they actually won a football game in week 2, but if this is how their best players performing, who is going to? Will any Titans players be rostered by week 6? Derrick Henry will be rostered, but this is
maybe Hopkins.
Maybe.
Yeah. He seems like he's pretty done with his time in Tennessee. He doesn't seem happy at all.
He's pissed off.
I think we'll see Will Levis at some point. Or Malik
sure
Willis,
will.
or both. I don't know. It's just
At the same time.
it's disappointing. Who did that last year? I can't remember. Who did a toss to a quarterback? I don't know if you remember that or not. Somebody a running back lined up under center and tossed to a quarterback. Or, I don't know. It was weird. Whatever. I think it was the Texans. Anyway, listen. Appreciate you guys hanging with us. We're going to do some quick Thursday Night Football preview and then wrap up our show here. I'm going to jump into it because we got a fun which should be a fun game, I think. I don't think this will be a cursed Thursday Night Football game from Amazon Prime Video. But we got Lions versus Packers. Should be a fun one to watch. It's been some exciting teams early on. My must start for Thursday night is Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm holding strong here. Even if David Montgomery does play, I think Gibbs is still somebody you have to have in your lineup. He gets the opportunities. He's going to find the end zone, guys. I promise. He will get there someday, and I would almost say it's probably going to be Thursday night. We'll see. Bijan Robinson carved up the Packers defense. Well, I think Jahmyr Gibbs has a good opportunity here on Thursday night. I think he's somebody you can start with confidence. I believe that Gibbs has a good Thursday night game and starts out your week well if you're a Jahmyr Gibbs owner. Plain and simple. There you go. Jahmyr Gibbs. I think he's a must start.
Yeah, we're both still very high on Gibbs. It hasn't been the supreme fantasy outlook we hoped it would be to start the season, but Gibbs is talented. He's still very talented. He's still very involved on offense, game scripts, strategies, game plans, whatever you want to call it. Gibbs is still going to be fine. I'm still starting him.
Yep.
He's great. He's going to be fine.
100%. I'm excited about your must start, and I mean, understandably, we talked about him already, Wes, but hit me with him.
Yeah, it's funny that we get to do Lions again for a Thursday night preview, but the Sam Laporta was my risky start in week 1, and he's been promoted to my must start, and I'm happy to say that he is panning out exactly the way that we suspected he would from the first couple weeks. He's actually being the player that we heard in camp, and so is Gibbs too. I mean, I read about Gibbs being they painted it as like the talent is there, but don't forget he's still a rookie, so you're going to see some ups and downs in his play. But Laporta is the number 2 option for Jared Goff, and Amon-Ra has got to thank Sam Laporta for this. It's like, thank you, because you're going to help me succeed and take the weight off of me. Laporta is going to be a great red zone opportunity for the rest of the season. Laporta is a lock for me as a top 10 on the finish for the season. I think he's fantastic, and you must start him.
I agree with everything. Sam Laporta is awesome. I've got him in a dynasty league, and everyone
Lucky.
Coming into the season after week 1, after week 2, everyone's like, "Hey, is Laporta? You moving on Laporta? And is Laporta available?" No, he's not. He's not at all. I've got Travis Kelce in that league, and I'm like, no, in this dynasty league that I'm playing in for many years, no. As soon as Kelce ages out, Laporta is just. I'm starting Laporta in my flex in this league because he's just that good of a guy. He's so solid. So Sam Laporta is a must start. I agree. Risky start. Going to go to the other side of the football here. Green Bay Packers' new starting quarterback, Jordan Love, is my risky start. Jordan Love has been awesome for fantasy football. Here's the stat that I want to take a look at, that I want to point out. Maybe this won't be exactly what we want. He's thrown 7 touchdowns through 3 weeks. And he's ran one in as well. That's a lot for a guy that is like not really lighting it up in the yardage mark or anything like that. Obviously, Aaron Jones has been out since from the last 2 games. Jordan Love is completing only 54% of his passes. That's like in the area of like Desmond Ridder and Baker Mayfield. Guys like that it's like, I wouldn't really start that guy in my fantasy lineup. I think Jordan Love has had some good luck with touchdowns in his first 3 games, and that has made him really, really solid fantasy player to this point. Those touchdowns, I think, are going to run out at some point. I don't think he will consistently put up 3 passing touchdowns in a game and consistently run a touchdown in. So that's why he's my risky start. He very well could, in what should be a high-scoring game, throw for 3 touchdowns. He seems to be hitting a stride with Romeo Doubs in the regular season. He might get Christian Watson back. Luke Musgrave is a sleeper right now. Jordan Love's just a bit too risky for me. I'm personally not going to play him in leagues where I have him. I just think the touchdown luck runs out at some point. And so that's where I'm at. Jordan Love is my risky start.
Aiden Hutchinson's a monster, by the way.
Yeah,
so,
also true.
I mean, let's think. The Bears have nobody on defense. The Falcons have a good rush defense, but they're not incredible in the pass. And then, I mean, Cameron Jordan is a future Hall of Famer, so he's no joke either. But I think this will be this probably is the toughest defense they're about to face. Yeah. I think that might factor into it as well. So it's funny because my risky start is the quarterback on the other side of this matchup here, and that's Jared Goff. And we try to specify if it's a good risk or a bad risk. This is a risk because here's the thing. The Packers have actually done pretty well against QBs. And even if you take out Jordan Love, Derek Carr wasn't just dominating. Desmond Ridder did the best, and he got a little more than 20 points. And yeah, that's fine, but it's not the kind of situation where it feels like, oh, Jared Goff is a starting quarterback in fantasy. But he could be. He really could be. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a hoss. Sam Laporta is a boss. But Jared Goff, here's one thing about him that I learned because I was so freaking pissed off at Daniel Jones, as we talked about early in the episode, of why he's so bad and why Darren Waller is failing. Daniel Jones is 29th in passing yards per attempt. Jared Goff is second in the NFL. Second in passing yards per attempt, only behind Tua. That gives me enough confidence to consider him as a starter, but he's a risk because, well, he just is. Sometimes it's like 15 points, and other times he's going to push for 30. So yeah. I wish you luck if you choose to start Jared Goff for the beginning of your Week 4 matchup.
Yeah, no notes. It's a risk in and of itself. That is it. It's a risk that we can't lean one way or another here. We just don't know how it's going to go. Jump into my don't starts here real quick. Don't start A.J. Dillon. We've seen him get the opportunity at 15 carries 2 weeks in week 2. He was the guy with Aaron Jones out. Aaron Jones may be returning. I get that you may be in a desperate situation. You might have to and just hope that he falls into the end zone at one point. But he hasn't been good in the lead back role. And so we have no reason to believe that even if Aaron Jones returns in a limited capacity, that he will then be somehow the guy that is just absolutely going to get you your 25 points. We've seen those games out of him before in his rookie season. Not going to happen on Thursday night. Do not start A.J. Dillon. That's it.
It's a bit of a disappointment in the last 2 years. I mean, last year we thought A.J. Dillon was going to get 50 catches, or it was just going to be this amazing, or 50 targets, whatever it was. We thought he was going to have a fantastic year. He was being drafted in like the 5th, 4th round, and he just didn't pan out. And now, I mean, Jordan Love is not Aaron Rodgers and yada, yada. But, I mean, man, I feel like Dillon should have been just this great backup, almost like the way Tony Pollard took over for Zeke. It was like Aaron Jones is still succeeding, or he succeeded in the one game. But, yeah, a bit of a letdown by A.J. Dillon. My don't start is Lions wide receiver Josh Reynolds, who put up a goose egg and had 0 targets. And that's not the main reason I'm saying don't start him. The main reason is because that is too much of a risk to begin your Week 4 matchup with someone that could put up 0 points or get you 18 points. And this is someone that does not have the reputation of a Tyler Lockett or a Devonta Smith or a T. Higgins, because it feels like T. Higgins is boom or bust right now. Josh Reynolds is not that guy. Don't take the shot just because the first couple of weeks he was doing well. I'll throw in Khalif Raymond too. I mean, Josh Reynolds is not someone that you want to risk to begin and get an advantage in your matchup. Don't start him. Kind of throwing in Khalif Raymond too, but I'm going to stay with Josh Reynolds. Say don't start him.
No, I agree, and I'll just say I think the upside that we potentially saw for Josh Reynolds, it's gone into the pocket of Sam Laporta, and so I think the upside that is there that we think, oh, maybe he can get 5 targets and a touchdown and whatever. Like I think that's Laporta's gig now, and so Reynolds is not the guy you want to take a risk on here to start out your week. That is going to do it. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We know we went a little in depth for you. We hope you appreciate that as well. When we get going, we have a fun time here. So listen, let us know in the comments what you think. Did you get Devon A-Chain? Are you cutting Justin Fields? Are you in and out on Burrow? What do you think there? Let us know in the comments. Make totally the troll smile by subscribing, ringing the bell. Follow us on our social medias below. Join us on Friday as we recap Lions versus Packers Thursday Night Football and look forward to Week 4 of the NFL season with some studs and duds. My name is Noah Selby.
And I'm Wes Selby.
And Tua Tagovailoa just threw another touchdown against the Denver Broncos. And this has been 4th and Troll Fantasy. 4th and Troll Fantasy is a production of FQ Media and Selby Artistic Workshop.